And as always, the internet's favorite judge, Josh Lee, presided on another edition of Horror or Not. Court is in session.
To another episode for the Horror Not Fear campaign of Horror or Not with Josh Lee, where we'll be discussing films that are kind of on the brink of are they horror or are they not? And this week we will be talking about one of what is argued as one of the best films of the 2000s and the 21st century by, Guardian magazine? But it is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. So Josh, take it away.
Okay. So this is actually one of the easier ones for me to give an answer to, because to me, every movie that David's made is a horror film. He probably wouldn't say that. In fact, we all kind of know that he wouldn't admit to that, but that's fine. He doesn't have to. In Mulholland Drive specifically too, it's got one of the most terrifying things maybe ever filmed in it. And again, David probably wouldn't admit to trying to or setting out to make a horror film, but he motherfucking did. And I think everything he's made, in fact, is a horror film. I mean, it's from Eraserhead up to Inland Empire. They're all horror movies. But not in a traditional sense, because it's David and he doesn't make shit like anyone else. So whether he set out to make horror or he didn't is irrelevant, because it's going to be something that is made by David, and he creates a horror unlike anyone else. So you don't have films that are centered on monsters and boogeymen and shit like that, but the horror that is in the plots, if you want to even use that word, of David's shit is just solely his own, and it's 100% unique. And that's, I think, part of why people may not think that they're watching a horror film if they're watching a David Lynch movie, but they in fact are, because everything is a horror film, especially Mulholland Drive.
So do you mean his original stuff or even his adaptation, like, Elephant Man, Dune, Straight Story?
I was going to say the Straight Story.
I mean, okay, so you can't... Number one, you never mention Dune. David will punch you in the face. And clearly the Straight Story is not, but...
his original.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say that the Elephant Man is, I mean, even though that's adapted too, it's more like depression core, but yeah, I mean, I obviously we're not including Dune and we're not including the Straight Story. But everything else, every original screenplay is in fact a horror film. Even Twin Peaks.
Okay, so there you have it. It is a horror movie. So if you want to dispute Josh on that fact, for that all of the original David Lynch films are horror films, then send us a message. We'll bring you on and you two can duke it out.
Verbally.
Yeah, verbally, of course.
Bloodhound Pix podcast is part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Produced by Josh Lee, Craig Draheim, and Kyle Hintz. Music by Raymond Seed. Editing by Kyle Hintz.